Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar session, Building Your Employer Brand to Attract Tech Talent. First of all, can I just check, can everyone hear me okay? If you just ping over in the chat box. Questions for me, please ping them over by the chat box and I'll do my best to answer as many as possible at the end of my talk. We are recording the webinar, so if you want to check out the recording or utilize any of our takeaway points from the session, this is going to be made available to you by email after the talk. So feel free to share this with your colleagues or team. So thanks for joining me today. My name's Adele Green. I head up the community team here at eSynergy. And for those that are wondering, this isn't the Adele, this is me. I've spent the past 6 years running community engagement, helping organizations raise their brand profile within tech communities through a dedicated community program for companies that want to engage and attract tech talent and raise their employer brand. I've organized and supported hundreds of community activities, from meetups to webinars and tech events for lots of different communities. One of the things that I've noticed over the years is how little companies embrace and engage with technologists and utilize the power of community, particularly at a time when we know that there's a tech talent shortage and it's greater than ever. Gartner's Emerging Risk Study ranked the global tech talent shortage as the #1 risk factor in the last quarter of 2018, which has been up third place in the second quarter of the year. I speak to so many organizations that report that attracting and hiring tech talent isn't getting easier. And I think there's going to be a real shift in how organizations are leveraging communities internally to drive these key business objectives that are going to help to tackle many of the challenges on today's agenda. So today I'm going to give some advice from a community perspective on building your employer brand, how to engage and attract tech talent, diversity, innovation and opportunity, and then we're going to wrap up with some takeaways. So let's begin. The value of employer brand is becoming crucial for organizations, especially when it comes to building your internal capability or having to ramp up that expert team quickly. A recent survey with Glassdoor showed that 60% of hiring decision makers said that their employer brand awareness is either a challenge or a significant barrier when it comes to attracting and hiring tech talent. So I'd love to get a quick poll here. If you can just fire over in the chat box whether you agree that brand awareness is a challenge or a barrier in hiring tech talent for your company. Just go to the questions box now and let me know what you think. Okay, so just looking now, and it's clear to see that yes, employer brand is a challenge for most of you out there. I think interestingly, 75% of those also surveyed agreed that if a candidate is aware of a company's brand name or their products or services, it makes the recruiting process a whole lot easier. And I found that most tech talent teams, when looking at employer brand, they'll invest in traditional methods of recruitment, such as job boards or LinkedIn. And this is on the assumption that potential candidates are going to recognize your brand and the opportunity and favor this over the thousands of other companies posting their jobs. Remember, some of the best tech talent is passive. Job boards and traditional sources, they're great for active candidates. But what about this huge pool of passive tech talent? Many employer brand strategies that I see talk about investing huge amounts into your careers page, focusing on the application process and the candidate journey. And yes, all these things matter in making the candidate experience as slick as possible, but it doesn't solve how you're going to engage and attract these people in the first place. They're not going to land on your careers page. So the best talent is very rarely looking for their next job, as we know. So it comes to them. So it means that you need to be positioning your organization and brand at the forefront. Companies that consistently attract the best talent get one thing right, and that's their employer branding. So how do you land your brand in the right way to engage and influence potential talent? Well, the first thing here is storytelling. And look, I know this isn't a new concept, but it's definitely an important one. A great story can have a lasting impression. You want to inspire and educate through storytelling, and here's how. Firstly, you're going to want to identify what stories you have to share. Speak to your tech teams and get them to put forward ideas of stories that they can share with the wider tech community. This can be anything from their employer journey to discussing a recent project your tech team have been working on. Remember, you're looking to educate and give back to your audience. So don't feel like you should only talk about the good. The real benefit of sharing your story comes from sharing challenges, how your teams have overcome them, and what they've learned. When I go in and work with organisations, our first step is to look at your tech roadmap and hiring needs for the next 6 to 12 months, and then align talks and stories around these particular areas so you can really put yourself in front of the audience that you're looking to engage with. So secondly, we look at enlisting the help of talent ambassadors and community champions, because at the end of the day, who's better to tell your story than your employees? A LinkedIn survey showed that candidates trust the company's employees ×3 more likely than the company to provide credible information on what it's like to work there. So by having your employees share their stories and experiences, you're providing a much more reliable source, and potential candidates are going to be much more engaged. Employer brand is in the hand of your employees. People trust peer-to-peer recommendations. So getting your hiring managers and your employees to champion and advocate your brand and attend meetups and events, this is going to have a significant impact when engaging. So make sure you make them part of the process early on. And not to mention, this is a great way to retain the teams that you've got, helping them feel like they're part of a community where they can really share ideas and upskill. Offering speaking opportunities to develop them and elevate their own personal brand has real benefits. It shows that you are, as an employer, in supporting, encouraging them to be part of the tech community. Lastly, we want to look at agreeing your company messaging and branding for talks. Your branding and company messaging needs to flow through any story that is shared. Whether an employee is giving a talk at the next DevOps meetup or they're speaking on the next Java webinar, there needs to be an agreed company message that you want to share about your organization so that the message is clear and consistent. So the power of the tech community. So I wanted to give a bit of background here around technology communities. I mean, during the open source software movement, we saw huge collaboration with an online community that promotes continual improvements, modifications, and contribution to each other's work. Open source allowed programmers and devs to share their code by making it public so that they could improve and find bugs and problems and produce a higher standard of code. Now, this kind of collaboration and openness didn't just drive online communities, but we saw a huge shift in the way that technologists were collaborating and meeting up to cross-share this knowledge and experience. So in 2002, Meetup was born. So Meetup is a platform for finding and building local communities. People use Meetup to meet new people, learn new things, and pursue their passions together. For those who aren't aware, meetup.com is an online networking portal. Anyone can search and find community groups that relate to a particular interest or topic. So go check it out if you're not familiar. You can search for a specific technology area that may be of interest and find a community that's right for you. Meetups are typically run by community-driven organisations and individuals who organise regular events, majority of the time monthly, where those who are part of the community can come together. So what may have started back in the day as a few techies meeting to discuss Java in the pub is now this huge community of passionate technologists who are coming together to upskill and cross-share knowledge and networks. So in the world of tech, where things are moving at an incredibly fast pace, with new tools and tech being launched and implemented all the time, it's vitally important for techies to stay ahead of the curve and constantly upskill themselves. So the people that are attending these meetups are not just juniors or graduates. The majority are mid to senior level engineers, and they know that they need to continuously upskill. Whilst the latest Meetup numbers haven't been released, there's about 35 million Meetup users, and specifically within tech in the UK, there's a community of thousands of technologists that meet up regularly face-to-face. So this is a fantastic way to engage directly with technical talent. You need to be out within these communities and in these meetups, meeting with this potential passive talent. And there's some fantastic organisations out there too that have got really large technical communities. So not just meetups, but there's a whole host of organisations that allow the engineering community to meet up and to collaborate together. And one in particular is one of our partners, Skills Matter. So they're a huge hub in the City of London for the tech community. They've got over 165,000 devs and engineers that come together to learn and share skills about software craftsmanship and progressive tech. So they host and run hundreds of meetups, conferences and training courses every year. And as an organisation, you can register and attend their meetups for free. Or you can get your internal teams involved in some of their speaking opportunities and perhaps go and present at one of their leading conferences. So go check them out after, www.skillsmatter.com. So what else can you do as an organisation that's looking to engage with these technical communities? Go forth and share your story. Remember those champions that we identified early on? Now it's their turn to help. Round up your internal speakers who are confident in presenting your story to the community. Find the next tech conference or meetup and reach out to the organiser about how you can get involved and share your story. The tech community want to learn, but they don't just want to hear about successful projects. The challenges that you have faced not only make a more captivating story, but by showing how you overcame them, your audience is more likely to learn something valuable. Sharing your story at a meetup or a conference is a great way to promote your brand and engage with the community. This isn't a sales pitch or an opportunity to constantly talk about hiring, but this is an opportunity to position your company as thought leaders and elevate your brand profile. Now, of course, there's no harm in making sure that at the end of the talk, your speaker can do a cheeky "we're hiring" slide at the end with their email, or you can direct the audience to your careers page, social channel, or perhaps a Slack or Twitter channel if you have one. The important point to note is that for every talk you give, there needs to be a way for them to connect with your brand so you can continue the conversation after. I mean, just look at Monzo, the challenger bank who are making some serious strides in disrupting fintechs. They have their own dedicated community page on their website and an events calendar for meetups, and have really embraced community as a fundamental part of their business. So maybe you don't have a story to share currently within a particular tech area, but you still want to engage with that community. This is okay. I mean, there's plenty of other ways that you can engage and support the community ecosystem. The first, host or sponsor a meetup. If you have a fantastic office space, then welcome the tech community to you. Treat your office like a home and be proud to invite guests and show off. This is a very visual way of getting potential talent to consider whether they see themselves working for you. Let them see your environment and your brand investing in events and upskilling activities. Normally, most meetup hosts or sponsors get a couple of minutes to stand up and say hello to the audience. So take this opportunity to share why you want to be part of that community. There's plenty of opportunity to network during breaks and pizza, so make sure you have your internal team on hand to meet with the community. So many companies make the mistake when sponsoring an event that they think the community is going to come to them, and this is where you need to utilize all networking opportunities and make sure your employees are out there networking too. So the next part is running your own events and building your own community. So the next thing I wanted to talk to you about is organizing your own meetups and events, because this can be a daunting task. If you've never organized an event before, you're going to need to have some great allies to help you share and promote the event. And if you don't have an existing community, you know that you need to start somewhere. So here's my top tips of things to consider, but feel free to reach out after the talk if you want more guidance on this. So the first thing to look at is the audience. So you want to define who is the audience, who are you looking to attract? If it's from a hiring perspective, who are you looking to hire? You know, if it's from branding and engagement, who do you want to engage with? Perhaps it's looking at, do you want to bring in an external thought leader or speaker if you don't have that internal story to share, or if you really want to raise your brand? We can get, you know, internal speakers with big names from the community to come in and give that talk. Can you co-organize the event and team up with an existing community to reach a wider audience? Is your speaker or panel diverse? You want to make sure that your event is as diverse as possible to make sure you're attracting a diverse audience. Next, you'll want to look at logistics, so making sure you set your date, location, and times, and making it as accessible for your audience as possible, considering the holiday seasons and other large events that are taking place around that time. And agreeing the format of events. So is it going to be a breakfast meeting, panel discussions, meetups, or hacks? Confirm your event platform. Where are you going to host this? There's so many great tools out there like Eventbrite, meetup.com, or even hosting it on your website. Now, data capture, and I'll talk a bit about this later, but you want to be able to continue the conversation after. I go to so many events where companies don't capture data, and it's so important to, if people are coming into your office or if you're meeting them at events, you want to be able to engage with them and be able to follow up with them for feedback and to continue that conversation. Next up, content. So content is key here. You've got to make sure you're providing valuable content to that community. Choose a topic and theme and ensure this is relevant and current. Make sure you speak to your internal tech teams to verify your chosen topic. Review the content, make sure you've had a trial run and make sure it's engaging. And lastly, promotion. How are you going to promote the event to drive attendance? A lot of people don't have an existing community, so it's really important that you work with your marketing, if you have marketing teams and social teams, to really reach out to that wider community. So looking at social channels, maybe an existing database, and your internal networks, reach out to your teams and get them involved in promoting and making sure that they can attend. Now, these are just some of the core areas to consider when running tech events for the community, but if you'd like more information or need support setting up an event, then just ping me after the session. Showcasing your activities. So if you're hosting or supporting tech events or out talking in the community, share this through your social channels, promote and build your network. Add the events to your websites, your blog channels, and promote on social media. Get your teams to publish their slides after and celebrate externally your involvement. Why not showcase your community activities through social channels? It can be in the form of a blog or a video. We normally see organizations involve their marketing and social and comms teams when running these types of events because it really helps promote what you're doing as an organization. And remember, this is not just about promoting your jobs. You need to showcase the activities that you're involved in. So I've pulled together a quote here around diversity and inclusion that resonates with what I think diversity and inclusion stands for. And I really wanted to bring up the importance of being diverse and inclusive when it comes to these community engagements and activities. If diversity and inclusion is on your agenda, and let's face it, it should be, then make sure you're involving your organisation into the diverse communities that are out there. If you want to attract a diverse workforce, you need to walk the talk. You need to be actively involved in applying diverse sourcing strategies. So for organisations that want to create D&I initiatives, community events are a great way of engaging in diverse communities. Remember, not everyone upskills themselves and engages in the same way. So by creating inclusive ways of networking and upskilling, this is imperative to meet such individuals. Being inclusive can be achieved through running and hosting flexible and alternative events. So examples I've implemented include running a breakfast meetup instead of an evening meetup, just to include those that are unable to attend after work due to personal commitments. Online webinars are another great way for individuals to upskill themselves in their own time. And furthermore, online sessions can also benefit those that have mobility issues or prefer not to learn in social environments. To engage successfully in diverse communities, you must think about making the event as inclusive as possible. So from the speakers you choose to the communities you engage with, this needs to be considered and implemented across your talent attraction strategy. There are some great communities out there too, and events and meetups that focus on D&I. So you've got Women in Tech London, London Tech Ladies, Code Untapped, U Equal Tech, and Monkey Gra, to name a few. But again, check out on meetup.com and start doing some research into some of the companies out there that can support you that have these communities. So continuing the conversation, and I think this is a really big part and what a lot of organizations really struggle with. Once you've made contact with potential talent, it's so important to drive them into your ecosystem. So whether you've captured their details at an event or directed them to your Slack or Twitter or LinkedIn page, it's really important to make sure you're continually encouraging those you meet to engage with your brand so that you can continue the conversation with the view of converting it into advocates of your brand. So Stack Overflow in 2018 published the world's largest and most comprehensive dev survey. and they called it the Global Developer Hiring Landscape. And in this survey, they asked about 100,000 devs from around the world about their job seeking status. And they found that only 16% of devs are actually looking for a job, but an overwhelming 75% of developers are interested in hearing about new job opportunities. So it's crucial that you continue to keep potential candidates engaged with regular communication. And this can be sharing your latest blog, following up with your next event, or a latest article or thought leadership piece. Not everyone you meet at an event or in the community is going to be looking for a job right now. So by keeping them engaged, you're increasing your chances of being on their radar when the time is right. You've got to start by building relationships with candidates over time and exposing them to your brand regularly. Events and content that are in keeping with your overall brand and talent needs are going to help you develop brand awareness and attract the right individuals to your company. And lastly, you get what you put in. I see many organisations sponsor and talk at one event and expect to hire hundreds of candidates off the back. And whilst you may have some great conversations and reach a lot of people with your brand, it's not going to make a huge difference to raising your profile and hiring. You need to be consistent and know that this is a long-term commitment where you need to combine multiple activities regularly to turn passive talent into employees. And there's no silver bullet when it comes to hiring top tech talent, but what we do know is that by continuously investing in engaging with your target audience in the right way, it's going to position you as an employer of choice and ultimately attract talent. So here's my takeaways. Agree your message. What is the story that you want to share as an organization? Identify and round up your brand advocates and community champions internally and share your story through speaking opportunities and events. Engage with relevant and diverse communities and leverage these. And be consistent. Have a long-term and a short-term strategy. So that's it for me from now. If anyone's got any questions based on what you've heard today, then please ping them over via the chat box and I'll do my best to answer them now. Thank you. Okay, so first question that's come through, are community activities only good for hiring? And I'd say no. I think when I found that when I've been working with organizations, there can be many reasons why you're going to want to engage with communities. So from a branding perspective, obviously, if you've got products and services that you want to promote, you know, it's great to just showcase those and to actually raise the company's brand and reach and actually get more followers and, you know, people actually championing, you know, what you do. And the second thing is around internal engagement. So one of the things that actually, when we went in to start delivering programs to organizations around community, we found that there was such an increase in the culture and actual internal engagement. You know, we've seen that by people, you know, championing internally, speaking for their company, you know, it's a great way of making them feel part of a wider community and an internal community. So I don't think it's just about, you know, attracting talent and hiring. It's also looking at internal engagement and really raising your brand. Okay, next question. Where should the responsibility lie for community engagement? So this is an interesting question. Normally, I have sort of two audiences myself when I work with companies, and that's normally talent, and then normally sort of your tech leads and CTOs that are really kind of wanting to drive these initiatives internally. I think depending on the results you want to drive as a business, obviously, if your goals are that, you know, you want to create a pipeline of talent and you want more people to come through your doors, then I'd certainly want to, you know, say that that sits with talent to kind of help support and, you know, drive that initiative internally. But also, you know, it's just as important that, you know, the people sharing that story are involved, which more likely be your technology team. So it really does depend on your goals, but we normally see that the best successes work when teams collaborate. So, you know, working with marketing, comms, tech, and hiring all together. Okay, next question, a great question, is around budget. So, you know, what sort of budget is needed for a successful community engagement? And I think I've worked with companies, you know, that have a real range of budgets. So I can't really say that there's a particular answer, but what I can say is that, you know, companies that maybe, for example, are spending £5 on a stand at a conference or 50 grand at a stand on a conference, you know, it's about what you know, the strategy behind it and what you're looking to get from that event. You know, if you're just standing on the stand, you're not capturing data, you're not engaging with that community, you're not out there networking and sharing your story, you're not going to get the results. So it really is about looking at what budget you do have, what you're spending currently on perhaps your talent initiatives or what you're spending on your branding initiatives, and seeing whether there's, you know, an opportunity to, you know, which ones aren't performing. Can you incorporate community as part of those initiatives and have the budget to do some really interesting things consistently that are going to get you those results and get you that community that you can then leverage from and attract talent off the back? Okay, let's see. Just a one here. Can we get the slides? So absolutely, we'll be sharing the slides along with the recording after. So that's not a problem at all. Okay, next question is, how important is it to showcase the office design, layout and location? Now, I think, you know, if you've got a great space to share, then definitely show it off. You know, the companies that I've worked with that have had the offices, it's been such a good way of them being able to, you know, invite the community in. You know, people get a real sense of, okay, oh, this is the place where I could potentially work, you know, and they get to see it. Obviously, it's super easy for your teams because they're in the building, so they can't go anywhere. You know, everyone can get involved, and it's just a really kind of feel-good factor to be able to invite people in and really showcase your brand off in the right way. Okay, next one is, what activities can you suggest when you have little or no budget? So a really good question, because I think that there's so many things that companies can do that don't necessarily cost a whole host of money to actually be able to get involved in the community. You know, a lot of the meetups are free, a lot of speaking opportunities, you know, are not paid opportunities. So companies aren't having to spend out, you know, thousands of pounds on sponsoring and things. You know, I think having a combination works very, very well, and I have seen the successes from that. But there's plenty that you can do if you don't have an initial budget. You know, getting your teams out within the community, networking and meeting people, and, you know, just showing that you're part of and present within those communities, I think is just as important, and you'll meet some really great people and potential talent that way. Great. Well, that's everything from me. If you have any more questions, I'm seeing a few more come through, but I think that's at the moment what we've got time for. But if you'd like to fire me over any more questions that you have, if you'd obviously like any more information on community engagement or, you know, building your brand and want to have a further chat, you can check out more on our website, www.esynergy-solutions/community, or just ping me an email or give me a call. Thank you so much for everyone that joined today, and I hope to see you on our next webinar soon. Thank you.